This video will demonstrate replacing the speaker elements in a Bose 901 Series 3. These are my 40-year-old speakers, and I recently had the equalizer capacitors and transistors replaced. Since I knew it was pretty old, I hadn't used it in a long time, and got it all hooked up, and the speaker sounded kind of bad, kind of fuzzy. And so as soon as I removed the grill cloths, I noticed the dreaded speaker foam rot. And I decided, rather than trying to replace the foam surrounds, I found some online videos, which I'll provide links to in the video here, and decided to actually replace the speaker elements themselves rather than the foam surrounds. So this will show you how to do that. I didn't find any other videos online that showed that, but hopefully this will help get you started. Again, Bose 901 Series 3. Take a closer look. So this is the back of one of the speakers. I've actually already replaced the drivers in the other speaker, so I kind of knew what I was doing. And you can see, let me zoom in here a little bit, you can see the cracks in the foam surrounds. They're pretty mangled. You'll find some videos again that show actually replacing those foam surrounds. I chose not to do that. Here's what the new ones look like, and you can see they look much nicer. Check the resources, you can see where I bought these. One thing I noticed right away though, interestingly, the two cabinets are not identical. This one, the speakers are actually held in, kind of twisted in. You see, let's see if I can point to it. You'll see here a kind of a groove that the speaker slips into, at least the Bose ones did. The replacements, of course, don't quite match that. Fortunately, there were still holes where the screws would go, so I was able to use some number 6 by 1/2 sheet metal screws to pop the new drivers in after untwisting the old drivers. This one that we're going to do next, they are actually screwed in, so the two cabinets are not quite identical. So not sure what you'll find, but this one will be easier because you don't have to untwist the speakers. These are the speaker drivers that I got from a place called Parts Express. I'll provide the link later in the video. I bought 18 of them. There's 9 in each speaker. One thing I also did, just to be sure they all were matched more or less and all from the same batch, I unboxed them all before I started putting the speaker back together, and verified, yep, they were all from the same lot number, so they should all be pretty well matched. If for some reason when you buy 18 of them they're not quite matched, you might want to kind of split those between the two different speakers. So let me start by showing how I removed the speaker grill cloth. The back one was quite easy. There's little sticky pads under here, but they're not really holding very much anymore, so I just use a screwdriver, very gently get underneath this, and the speaker cloth basically sits in grooves on either side here, and so that popped off quite easy. And you can see, I'll show some close-up photos, you can see the speaker rot looks pretty bad. So let's go ahead and start taking one of these out. I also want to point out for the work surface here, I did put some towels kind of strategically folded at each end. The cabinet is curved in the front, so it's probably a good idea just to protect the front. I haven't actually removed the front grill cloth yet. We'll do that later. It's a little bit trickier because it's stapled in, but the back one was pretty easy to remove, so we'll go ahead and start. I'll show you how to replace one of the drivers, and the other 8 are just the same. I'm going to start with the top ones and work my way down, and I'll explain a little bit why I want to do it that way, just so I don't hurt anything as I do the bottom ones. So. Okay, these are 1/4-inch hex head sheet metal screws, although they're driven in plastic. As I mentioned at the beginning, on my other speaker, these were actually twisted in. They were not screwed in. Well, the front driver was screwed in, but these were twisted in. So if you have that kind, what I did is I used just a small Phillips screwdriver with a nice hammer to kind of twist them out of the plastic grooves. So if you have one like that, that's what you'll need to do to get them out, and you'll see these come out pretty easily. Get the screws out. I'll show you one, and the rest are pretty much the same. So let's get all these screws out. These are actually a little bit bigger than the ones that I used to replace on the other speaker. So that's all there is to getting these out. There is a little foam rubber gasketing behind there that you'll want to leave in place. And you can see there's not a lot of slack on these wires, so you got to be a little bit careful when you pull these out. You don't want to pull too hard. Kind of rest it there, and then we will untwist the wire wrap. These are actually wire wrapped. We'll untwist that. I also like to label right here on the back of the speaker what colors went where, so with the new driver I can be sure I put the right one in. And I'm only going to do these one at a time, just to keep the wires straight, and I would hate to have the wires disappear down inside the cabinet and get lost. So let me go ahead and unwrap these and we'll pop in the new one. Well, I tried to unwrap these, but they snapped off even before I could start to unwrap them. On my other speaker, they unwrapped quite nicely. It's nice if you can get the whole leads, because again the wires are pretty short, so you don't have a whole lot of slack to play with, but we can strip those. I'm actually going to solder on the new ones, and we'll show that next. You notice here also how I labeled on the back of the magnet which is the minus, which is the plus, and what color wire went where, so we'll make sure to put them back in the right place on the new driver. This is the old driver next to a new one, and you can see I've already labeled here which is which. I also used a battery. Most of you probably know this trick. I used a battery just to verify that the replacement speaker's polarity were the same, that when you hook the positive end of the battery to the positive end of the speaker, that the cone moves up and out, and that's exactly what they did on both of them. So no surprise, I was hoping to see that and did. And so I'm going to show you the other side of both of these here, and get a closer look. You can see they look virtually identical, except this one has nice foam and this one is all rotted. Here's our first two wires soldered onto the terminals of the new speakers. You could probably use speaker lug on those if you didn't want to solder them. I like the security of a nice soldered connection, and so this one is now ready to be stuck back into the case. Alright, this one is ready to go back in. I will use this gasket that was in here before. So let me pull that up to the top, kind of slip down in there, and line it up with the holes, and line up the speaker with the holes, and just kind of jockey him down in there onto the screws. And now it's all screwed in. I like to do these top two first, just in case, you know, if a tool slipped down, or when you're soldering up here, if something slips down, you're not going to mess up the new speakers if they were already down here. So we'll do this guy next, and I'll just maybe show you a couple snippets along the way, because now it's pretty much just step and repeat. The last of the four speakers on this side have been soldered, and I'll go ahead and mount that back into the cabinet. Notice some of these leads are so short you have to come up with creative ways to kind of prop up the speakers so they don't fall while you're trying to solder things. Don't know if you can quite read the date on there. The old speakers were made in August of 1978, so not quite 40 years old. And the new ones were made in May of 2016. All 8 of the rear drivers have now been replaced, so let's flip it over and I'll show you how to remove the front grille and replace that front speaker. Alright, let's flip this over. What I like to do is use a couple rolls of paper towels to kind of prop up each side so we don't smush this down. We still have it also on a towel here, so let's do it this way. Paper towel on this side, and a paper towel on the other side. Okay, now the trick is to find the 6 staples that are holding this in, and they are super tiny little staples. I'll do a close-up here. So yeah, so there's one right here, and what you got to do is basically use an awl, something with a nice sharp little point, kind of get underneath it, hammer it in, gently pry it up, try not to get the speaker cloth in there. I have a little hooked awl that works pretty well. It's got a little 90-degree bend in it. So once I get that guy under there, I can usually pry it right up like that. Oop, and there it goes. But anyway, like I said, they're super tiny little staples, so they're kind of a pain to find, but once you find them, we're not going to put them back. We're going to use Velcro instead. Once you get the staples out, then it's just a matter of pulling this off. And there we go. There's the one speaker that's still left to do. And this speaker removes just like the other ones with the 3 little sheet metal screws. But you will notice that this guy has some extra wires attached. And there's not much room in here. So this one has a couple wires on this terminal and 1 wire on that terminal. So again, we'll just write on the back here what color wires go where, and we can swap it with the new driver. Alright, the last one is soldered up here and ready to go back in the cabinet. So we'll do that next, and then show you how I'm going to reattach the front speaker cloth. So to reattach the front grille, instead of using those silly staples, we're going to use these handy little Velcro strips, and we'll put the rough side here. There's sort of a ridge here already anyway, so we'll put this one right there, and then we'll put the soft part on the back of the speaker grille. So you can see I've already got these 4 corners. 4 is probably plenty. Then you'll want to put the fabric part onto the piece of Velcro that's already on there. Peel off the backing so you have the sticky side up, and then we'll just press on the front grill cloth. Okay, so we've got the Velcro in there. I'm just going to lay this on top here, on top of the Velcro stickies, and push it down, and the front is good to go. Make sure, of course, that the logo part is in the lower right where it belongs. And now we can flip it over, and we'll put the back on. That back already has these little sticky pads on it, and so I'm not gonna use Velcro back here. You could if you wanted to, but I think it sticks on good enough just like this. Clean out some of the dust bunnies back here, and we can stick this guy back on again. It just goes in these little grooves. Just like that. And we're back together. All done.